Hey everyone, I wanted to just take a minute and show you some of my roses and my flowering beauties that have pretty much been left to fend for themselves and grow on their own this year since Bill and I have been working so much, and now I've started two new jobs and quit my old job, and I'm currently in training to do those. I actually have more time on my hands at home and noticed how overgrown everything is, but we did manage to get out and do some work and kind of spruce things up over the weekend. First of all, look at that. I have a squash. Actually, there's a lot of them coming in our garden, along with a lot of weeds, but we did get a lot cleaned out this weekend, so hopefully we'll get everything back on track here real soon. And here's my first tomato, my first jalapeno, zucchini. Not yet. This is what I got out of my garden this weekend. And then here is what my neighbor gave me out of her garden. Yay. So at least one of us is doing good. Hopefully I catch up and get some things out of my garden soon. So some of this stuff I did put in the freezer. And here I am at Target. Yes, looking at baby clothes because we are expecting a grandchild in March. And we're really happy about it. I have lost track what number we're on. I think somewhere around 12. Anyway, so much fun. But back to reality. Here's where I'm supposed to be at today in Target buying toilet paper. Ha ha. Toothpaste. But look what I got off the, what do they call it? The Target dollar spot. Saw somebody else grab one of those. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. Maybe put it in the fridge? I don't know. We'll see. I just felt like I had to have it that day. And then I picked up some of these 50-cent bowls. I got 4 of them. We like those. And so back at home, I am making chicken and noodles or chicken noodle soup. I kind of went back and forth on what I was going to call this, but anyway, it was extra good. And first of all, I just started by throwing some chicken breasts into some boiling water. I put some chunks of onion and some big pieces of celery, sprinkled in some rosemary and some lemon pepper. And I also added some salt and pepper, of course. Very little salt because we have been eating some really salty foods lately. Haha, this is how much I like sage. Very little bit of that. Anyway, too much salt lately in our diet, and I thought it was time to dial it back a little bit on the salt. So anyway, after cooking these chicken breasts for a couple hours, actually, I, as you can see, the water is kind of boiled out of it. So anyway, I have a really nice concentrated broth going on right here. And so I removed the celery stalks out of this because I don't like celery, and I don't think Bill does either. I do like the flavor of it, but I don't like raw celery, and it just wasn't what I was going for. So I took those out, and then I added a quart of water and then some peas and carrots, and I shredded this chicken up just using my scissors. I use my scissors a lot in my kitchen, and I know there's other methods, but this is just something that I've always done, and I just do. So the chicken went back into the broth. Bring it back up to a boil or a simmer, whatever you call it. So then once you got a nice hard simmer going, then you add your noodles. Just stir them in there so they can get cooked. Just like that. So meanwhile, I decided I was going to use this chocolate chip cookie dough out of the pantry. If you remember, I'm using foods out of my freezer and out of the pantry that we already have on hand this week. So I just followed the directions and added an egg and 1 stick of butter, which now looking back I realized I made a mistake. It was supposed to be a half a stick of butter, but I put a whole stick in. And, you know, when Bill had some of the cookie, he was like, "Is this homemade?" And I said, "No." I said, "But you know what? I added way more butter than what it called for." Anyway, maybe that's what made it taste so good. I mean, butter makes everything better, right? So I just used my hand and I just pressed the cookie dough down into this pan that goes into the air fryer and baked it in the air fryer. So while that's in the air fryer, I began to add the big can of cream of mushroom soup that I had in my pantry. It was one of the family size cans. I also added a can of cream of celery soup and just gave that all a mix. After I got all of the soup mixed in, I added a lot of black pepper. I love black pepper. And no, that wasn't a mistake. That's how much black pepper I wanted in it. And I really liked it like that. And here are those cookie bars going in, baking, and coming out of the air fryer. And they were so good, of course. Chocolate chip cookies are so good. And this is why I wasn't sure whether to call this chicken and noodles or chicken noodle soup. Started off as soup, but it got really thick. Everybody really liked this. Bill actually said that this made him love me a little more. He is so silly. For a really quick breakfast for dinner, I just made an egg, ham, and cheese sandwich on a piece of sourdough toast that I put some garlic and herb butter on. I just made it kind of like a grilled cheese, but with only 1 piece of bread. I was just trying to cut down the carbs in mine a little bit. I did make everybody else's kind of normal, and I just had some cherry tomatoes on the side with mine, and it was what I consider to be a light dinner or breakfast. So it was breakfast for dinner. Fungus. Anyway, mushrooms and onions for our burgers, bacon in the air fryer, and I just took 3 pounds of ground beef and rolled them up into balls and then smashed them down into patties using a Tupperware cup. because I'm the only one in the house that likes tomatoes, I just sliced up this one smaller tomato for my burger. And I also cut up a piece of an onion for Bill because he likes raw onion on his burgers, as well as the cooked onions and mushrooms. Once again, I just cooked our hamburger patties in a skillet on the stovetop. We pretty much kind of missed grill season this year so far. We don't have any gas in our propane grill, and Bill wasn't home at this time to man the charcoal grill, and it wasn't something that I really felt like doing. It was super, super hot outside, and standing over an open flame just did not seem like my idea of fun. So all I did was season these hamburger patties with garlic powder, salt, and pepper, and that was it. This is pretty much all I ever put on my hamburgers, and they always turn out really good. Nothing fancy, just the good old salt, pepper, and garlic. And I just flip these burgers over after they get a nice sear on the one side, and then let them cook up on both sides, and then turn the heat down until they're cooked in the middle. So here I am putting mine together, and I just couldn't edit that out. It was just too funny. That's real life. That's how everything goes for me. So anyway, it all tasted good and came together, even though I almost lost my burger. So this was my dinner for that night. Some chips and dip and a really sloppy, delicious hamburger with bacon and cheese, tomato. We had so many leftover cheeseburgers from the night before that I ended up putting them in a pan and then chopping them all up into chunks, and then adding 2 boxes of Kraft macaroni and cheese to it to make kind of a homemade hamburger helper. It didn't seem very cheesy for some reason, so I added a few slices of Kraft singles, is that what they're called? I don't know, sliced cheese to it, American cheese, and then just chopped that up and mixed it in, and it kind of made it right. So that was dinner for that night. I was feeling like I needed a fish sandwich. I don't know, every now and then I just crave some fried fish. I don't. The next night was a girls' night out for margaritas and dinner. My friend did not want to be on camera, so I'm just showing our food. Yes, I did have fish again. The next night I had a long day of exams, and so when I came home I just made some frozen pizza for me and Cameron. Bill had some of the leftover pizza when he got home from work that night. I did pick up some pepperoni and some strawberries on my way home. I am now working in a store, so how convenient is that to just buy what I need after work? I'm actually working in a pharmacy, but I have to pass through the grocery section to leave and come home, and so I picked up these strawberries and some extra pepperoni to go on our pizza. So for another dinner option, I made up some ground beef, drained the oil off of it, and I seasoned it with some garlic powder and salt, and then I added this partial jar of medium salsa. Next I'm going to add some ketchup, and I'm going to add just a little bit of mustard, some Worcestershire W sauce, some crushed red pepper, and some brown sugar. So this is how I have made my Sloppy Joe sauce for as long as I can remember. And this is also how I make my barbecue sauce and pretty much any sauce. My family loves this. I've heard that it's very similar to Pioneer Woman's recipe. I don't know. I'll have to check it out and see what she does. So as you know, we like a little heat, so that's why I added some of the crushed red pepper, and then I'm just mixing it all in, and then you just taste it, see if you like it. Add more if you need more. So that's what I'm doing here. A little more ketchup, a little more Worcestershire sauce. I think I said it that time. And that's all there is to it. Just let it simmer till all of that sugar gets cooked down and the flavors just kind of get cooked into the meat, and you're good to go. These are great if you put them in a crock pot too. So in my toaster oven, I have some garlic toast and some, what are they called? Tater tots. And then I have a pan of corn. And so I had my sloppy joes right on top of the Texas toast garlic bread with a pickle, some corn, and some tater tots on the side. Bill had his sloppy joe on his tater tots because he's gotta be different. For the last dinner in this video, I'm making jambalaya. I'm also going to make some glory greens on the side, and I'm going to make some zucchini corn fritters to go with it. To start off, I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil into my skillet and then add the chicken and the sausage that I cut into bite-sized pieces. Next, I dumped in the remainder of the onions and peppers in the bag that was in the freezer. And then, of course, I added some black pepper and a couple pinches of salt. I would have normally added some garlic powder or some minced garlic to this, but I forgot, but we didn't miss it. I just heated up the can of glory greens. I didn't add anything to it. And so while that is cooking on the stove, I went to work cutting up this gigantic zucchini that my neighbor gave us. And so I'm just cutting it and trying to miss the seeds. I don't really want any of the seeds in my fritters. And so I'm putting it into this shredder grater thing that my kids got me for Mother's Day, and it suctions down to the counter, and then you just give it a whirl. Well, make sure that you have it fastened or else it's going to slide away from you. And so I just shredded up my zucchini into the bowl. This went so fast and literally was just a couple of minutes to shred up that whole zucchini. So whatever I didn't use, I just put into the freezer to use later in soups. I just kind of eyed how much of the shredded zucchini I wanted to use in my fritters. I added an egg, and you can't see it. I may not have pushed the button on my camera, but I added a 1/3 cup of milk and a box of Jiffy corn muffin mix. And just mix that all up till there wasn't any dry pieces. And am I the only one that touches hot things to see if it's hot? Anyway, I sprayed my waffle iron. It's very hot, obviously. It's turning brown already. And then I just spooned in the zucchini and cornbread mixture. I considered adding cheese to this, but decided that I did not want to have cheese in it this time, although I'm sure it would be good if you were in the mood for something cheesy. A couple minutes later, and perfection. these were so good. I mean, I love cornbread anyway, but this was another way just to get a little bit of vegetables in. I put a dab or 2 or 3 of that garlic and herb butter on these while they were hot, and then cut them into fourths so that they would be easy to just grab and take. They were so good. I'll just say it again. So now that the meats and the peppers and onions are all cooked and ready to go, I'm going to start adding the rest of the ingredients. First, I squirted in some of this tomato paste that I buy in a tube. I really like using this in place of the little cans that I normally, used to buy. And so I'm using up a couple of the Roma tomatoes that my neighbor gave me. I just chopped them into really small pieces. Apparently I measure with mason jars, so I added 2 pints of water to this. I know you can only see me adding the 1, but I did add 2 pint jars of water, and then stirred in that tomato paste. Next, I literally just threw in some rice, and this is minute rice, and this was what I had left of the box, so I was just using up what I had and getting that, getting rid of it. And so I just let it simmer, and that rice just cooked up and absorbed some of the liquid. I did add red pepper flakes to this, of course, and I'm not gonna lie, this was really spicy when it was all said and done. I enjoyed it a lot. Obviously you could leave out the peppers if you don't want this to be spicy, but we liked it. And then here is my plate with the greens and the zucchini fritter waffle things. This was a really good dinner. And that is it for the video. As always, thanks for stopping by and showing your support. I hope that you enjoyed this video and that you were able to find some motivation to use what's in your pantry to make some delicious dinners at home. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting the subscribe button and coming back and checking out what we had for dinner again next week. Bye for now.